Over the past couple days, we've been inundated with cringe dialogue and clips and things like this from Dragon Age the Veilguard that
Yep.
essentially is showing that everybody that was worried about this in the beginning, with all those massive wave of dislikes on the YouTube trailer, all of the warning signs that were out there, the game director talking about how the game itself is just inherently queer, everyone was right to be very, very worried because the red flags were there, the warning signs were there. And now that we're 1 day away from its release, Dragon Age the Veilguard is getting bashed by anyone who's kind of seen as an impartial reviewer. Not the
Yep.
IGNs of the world, not some of the people who will never say a bad thing to maintain their access, but for a lot of people who people trust to get their gaming opinions from. Maybe they're not bashing it as much as maybe we would, but they're just coming right out and saying that the game is not good and it feels clunky and weird in this fantasy world. Dragon Age the Veilguard described as a piece of garbage and the tombstone of Bioware. Well, apparently, Bioware is worried enough. CEOs out there making comments like, hey guys, this is a return to form. We really see breakout potential with Dragon Age the Veilguard, we promise. While other people that are involved at Bioware are doing their best to distance themselves from this project. Mass Effect 5 game director, which I don't know how excited people are for Mass Effect 5, appears to already be doing damage control after Dragon Age the Veilguard backlash, says game will keep photorealistic art style. And he also said a few other things. This is on Twitter. He put this out publicly, by the way.
That's
Lots
wild.
of people ask me about Mass Effect now that Veilguard reviews are out and October 31st is close. Both are from the studio, but Mass Effect is Mass Effect. How do you bring a sci-fi RPG to life is different than other genres or IPs and has to have different kinds of love. Regarding tone questions, Mass Effect will remain the mature tone of the original trilogy. This is all I'm going to say for now. So you have people that are involved with other games in development at BioWare that are doing their best to let everybody know, hey, by the way, our shit's not going to be like this. We're not going to do this. Don't associate Dragon Age the Veilguard and its upcoming failure with any games that we have coming out. Like, that is a clear indicator that they know this is going to be a disaster. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about that, and this is a thing that that they're not going to talk about and mention, is so in the development of Dragon Age, originally Dragon Age Veilguard was called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And they had been working on it for years. And then they pivoted into Veilguard. We don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know where that pivot started to happen. I don't know why they changed it, but they fundamentally changed whatever storyline they were going to work with into whatever Veilguard is now. And they were so behind on production that they actually asked for help. And they sent developers from the Mass Effect game that pulled off of the Mass Effect game to jump onto Veilguard to help. And actually, that's why a lot of people are saying that the combat system and some of the things that are being complained about are the way that they are. It's because somebody from Mass Effect went, well, this is how we do it here. And so if we're helping with your development of the game, here's how you could streamline some of this stuff. And so there's a lot of similarities to how the combat system in a Mass Effect game would work. There's a lot of similarities to the simplicity of Mass Effect in an RPG setting, and they are very different games, which he's completely right. But the fact is, if there is any similarities to how Dragon Age is being run, and put together, like I don't know how they're going to say that Mass Effect isn't going to have the same problems. We've already seen Mass Effect Andromeda and what a nightmare that was, and I'm sure they want to distance themselves from that. But right now, BioWare hasn't stacked up any goodwill towards players. This was their chance to say, guys, we know you love these franchises and we know this is what you care about. But the fact is, like, there's crossover now between those two. And I think they're intrinsically locked into each other in a way that they're not going to be able to separate. So
I think one of the things he's pushing back on most is probably because what we've seen, especially a lot of the clips, a lot of it's about the dialogue and the interactions between the characters seeming very kind of modern day bullshit. I think that's probably what he's putting out there the most. He even would follow up, right? I mean, Mass Effect has always had its fair share of humor and silliness. Serious characters put in some humorous situations Michael Gamble would kind of follow up with. And also about the art style. This is, the Veilguard is going to be a massive disaster for BioWare. We see this over and over again. When you have trailers that come out and get bombed, get destroyed, get hammered in a fairly organic way, right? People aren't going to tell people, go dislike this, go downvote this. The vast majority of motherfuckers that look at a YouTube video don't even know how many dislikes there are. You need like a special thing for that. So it's not like a big pile on in a lot of ways. It's because people don't like what they're seeing. The core fan base that it's supposed to be targeted towards, they don't like what they're seeing. And instead of listening to the fans, they double down, double down, double down. You put people in charge of the property that only care about pushing their strange, weird agenda, like the game director for Dragon Age, the Veilguard. And this is what you end up with, something that massively disappoints. I mean, we saw it with Concord. We're going to talk about that a little bit later today. We saw it with Star Wars Outlaws. We've seen it in the before, right? Leading up to this point with Dragon Age the Veilguard. We've seen it with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which they decided to delay. Maybe rightfully so. Maybe they should just cancel that fucking game overall. But yeah, whenever these things happen, you can tell when one of these projects is doomed for failure. And it seems right now like Dragon Age the Veilguard is.
Yeah. 100%. And the thing about video games is you can't just go reshoot some of them because you got negative feedback. Like, it is what it is. There's maybe minor tweaks and changes. Maybe a day one patch drops that fix some of the performance issues that we've been hearing about. But there's no changing the story. The story is going to be what it is, no matter what. And everything that we've seen from those clips, that's not changing. Them using modern day language, the Quinari bitch walking around talking about how she's non-binary and telling her parents about it, and then your character being able to choose whether or not they're embracing their transness, all this stuff, that shit's in the game forever. That's not going away. Yeah, the writings have been on the wall for a while for Dragon Age Veilguard. A lot of hardcore fans are already turned off when they went away from Dreadwolf. They kind of had a slam dunk on their hands, and yeah, it's over now.
And honestly, people have been kind of clamoring for Dragon Age to return to form ever since they released the second one.
True.
You know what I mean? In general.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
There's
absolutely.
That. There's that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, Bioware's been in trouble for a while. I keep talking about this, but they have not had a hit come out since technically Mass Effect 3, honestly, or Dragon Age Inquisition. I would say Dragon Age Inquisition wasn't as big of a hit as Mass Effect 3, but Dragon Age Inquisition was at least playable. Some people did like it. But after that, canceled game, Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem completely crashed and burned, and then they had the Legendary Edition kind of give them a little bit of a boost, but that's a remake. That's not anything new. So Dragon Age Veilguard is kind of their only new property right now that they have coming out, and I think it's going to flop really bad. I think they're really in trouble right now. So
not looking great. Not looking great for Dragon Age the Veilguard.